You know, one of the most well-known wood stoves, twig stoves of all time, has to be the Emberlet, designed by Mikhail Merkwares and sold through his company Merkwares. This became an instant hit, so popular in fact that it became the subject of a lot of offshore clones and versions of it. Now, while that may seem like a great compliment to the design, it also robbed Mikhail of a lot of income, unfortunately. Well, Mikhail's not one to sit around and just look at his old designs and rest on his laurels. Mikhail looked at this one day and he thought, you know, what if I turned it upside down, made it much, much huger, gave it a double wall so it would gasify, and created a fire pit out of it? Well, that's exactly what he did. This is the HearthFire from Mikhail at Merkwares. If you're interested in hearing more about it, keep watching. Now, before we get started, I want to thank Mikhail for sending out the HearthFire. Now, this is a prototype, not a production model. They are not yet in full production. They are ramping up for it even as we speak. And they're also about to enter into a Kickstarter project. So you will be in on the ground floor if you take a look at it now. I'll be providing the links to where you can sign up for the Kickstarter, or at least look at the information and see what it's all about. So now, this is also going to be a first burn. I have put this together a couple times and it is dead simple, but I have not had a fire in it. Mikhail actually asked me to do it this way so that I could give you and him a first impressions, not something over a long period of time. Now, having said that, I do plan on using this as often as the fire bans allow us to, and then I'll report back for more of a long-term review. So what I'm going to do is bring the camera down. I'll show you all the components that come in that package. I'll assemble it, but right now it's early day and we are under a fire ban. But as soon as the fire ban is lifted, and hopefully in the evening so you can get the full effect of it, I'll light a fire in it and we'll discuss its merits and possibilities. All right, so I'm not sure what to expect from the HearthFire, how much heat will come out under it. It does sit on a little platform table, which should protect any surface underneath from heat. Just the same, Gina would kill me if I killed the grass right in this area, so I am putting down a couple of fire bricks for the testing portion. I'll check and see, I'll put my hand underneath. Maybe it absolutely doesn't need these, but I'd just as soon be safe than sorry. Now, Mikhail does recommend you have a pair of gloves for assembling it, just in the off chance that some of the machining has left sharp edges on it. I've already assembled this a few times. No gloves needed for me, but I have them there, and maybe you should have them there for the very first time you go to assemble yours. Now, there is a set of instructions, which I have out of the package, so I do have to show you those as well. And you know what? I don't even know if you need these instructions to put it together. If you've assembled an Emberlet, you know how to assemble this. It's just upside down. That's the only difference. So let's get started. So this is a heavy-duty Cordura nylon case that it doubles not only as a package for the stove itself, but also as a wood carrier. So you can assemble the stove and then go off searching for wood to burn in it if you're at a campground somewhere. I've added another strap around it. I kind of forgot to remove that. It's just a little cargo strap to ensure the thing doesn't pop out. I mean, it hasn't yet, but you know, it's could, I suppose. That will come in the long-term review. Now, it's closed with snaps, heavy-duty force dome snaps. There are 6 in total. So now you can see how this would work as a wood carrier, which is great. Now I'm going to pull everything off to the side. Once I get it assembled here on the platform, that's when I'll go through the specifications for it. But we'll start with, this is the table for it, and that's the fire grate. I'll come back to that in a moment's time. So yeah, this is the table. Looks like I am going to have to, you know what? No, I should be able to do it right there. That'll protect any grass underneath from the heat right there. Now you can see the table has slots in it, and that's designed to hold protrusions or tabs that'll be on the finished model of it. Now here is the genius of Mikhail's design. Huge. By the way, this is 304 stainless steel, so it's a good rust-resistant stainless steel. Mikhail says he's left his out in the rain considerably, and maybe some surface rust, but so no serious rusting so far. Huge panels, 4 of them, of course, and they're going to sit in reverse of what the little Emberlet looks like, so that it's wider at the top than it is at the bottom. That will allow for heat to radiate outwards, where otherwise it would have been concentrated if it had been angled in at the top. So you can see these are inlet ports on the side for air. And this is the inside wall, and these are the jets that once it gets rocking and rolling and drawing a lot of air in through, Air coming through these jets will mix with any unburned wood gases and create basically a secondary burn. That's the whole process of it, or at least that's the theory of it. We'll see how well it works in practice. So putting it together, let me just grab a second slot or a second panel. They're quite heavy. I'll give you the weights and everything. You can see that they just go together very much like the Emberlit, right? Do be a little careful when you're first doing this. One, just for any sharp edges, but like I said, I haven't encountered that so far. And the fact that they can fall apart on you, like that. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to do it on the platform. We're going to do it off of the platform. So let me put the platform aside, and then I'll put the platform there. Like I said, obviously, not a whole lot of experience with this yet. That should be obvious by my ineptitude of putting it together. Okay, that's 2 panels. 3 of the panels go together very, very easily. It's just a matter of lining up the tabs, making sure they slot back in properly. Oh, yeah, easy when you line them up. Not so easy when you don't line them up. So that's 3. A little bit of work maybe putting it together. Oh, do you know what? I can see what the issue is now. This is creating an uneven surface, so let me move those out of the way. Right, this feels so unprofessional to me the way I'm doing it right now, but this is what Mikhail was looking for, some, like he says, raw, first use type of footage. Not my normal way of bringing something to you. There, that's 3. See, that looks setting better, right? Now, the third, or the last one, I should say, the fourth, goes together on one side, just like it does on the other 3. Again, get it all lined up. And drop into place. Ah, all right, so there you go. And the last one kind of works, well, not kind of, it works pretty much identical to the Emberlit. You have to do a little bit of torquing because the tabs are opposite, a set facing up and a set facing down. So you just kind of torque them into place. Keep your eyes on where they go. And once they're lined up, everything should drop into place. Not quite, I'm not there yet. Just so close. I did talk to Mikhail about assembly, and he is thinking about making the tabs, there we go, see all in place. Thinking about making the tabs openings just a little bit bigger to allow for exactly what you saw happening here, plus maybe to, in case of any warpage, panels down, I'll put the bricks in on after the fact. Now all I have to do is bring this assembled stove over, and that just dropped right in. That was easy. Yeah, that went in very easy, right? And then the fire grate drops in. Okay, how simple is that? Okay, I think what I'll do at this point is I'll reposition the camera so I can give you a few close-ups of the stove. I'll talk about its dimensions and weights and things like that, and then we'll set it aside. I'll get ready for evening time when I can put a fire in it. All right, let me give you a few of the specifications for the stove itself. So probably the first thing everybody wants to know, because you've got to transport this, is what is the weight? 22.75 pounds. And that, I know that does seem heavy for a wood stove, but I did some comparisons for other wood gasification fire pits. There are none like this, but there are some that do have secondary gasification or secondary burns as an objective, such as the Solo Stove Bonfire. So I'll be doing some comparisons. It's not fair to do a side-by-side. One, I don't own the Bonfire, but two, they're a different principle. Obviously, the other one is pre-assembled. This one lays flat, takes up less room, and when you go to support it. But we can at least do dimensions, and that'll be where the comparison ends. So as I mentioned, 22.75 pounds pounds. The Solo bonfire is 23.3, so the Solo is actually heavier than this is. They're both made from 304 stainless steel. The height of this, and now this is on the base, so you do want to use it on the base, of course, is to the top from the ground 17 inches. The width across the top, and it is a square, of course, is 18 inches. The width of the bottom, where the fire grate is 12 inches, and the depth of the fire box is 12 inches. And I measured that below the jets because you want to try and keep the wood as much as possible below the jets. I mean, yeah, you can stack it higher if you want, but you won't get gasification until the burning goes below the jets. So if you want a smokeless fire, then you got to keep the wood below. Otherwise, you'll have smoke coming off the fire. And that is one of the objectives of this, is to create as near a smokeless fire as possible. We'll talk more about that when I light it up. And of course, another objective is efficiency, maximum combustion of all the fuel inside. So should be so efficient that you get all the heat possible with as little charcoal or ash left behind as realistic. Now, the fire grate does pop out, and it is 3 inches off of the bottom, so there's plenty of space underneath. You're not going to clog this up with ash even over an extended burn. So that's the basic specifications for it. There's not much more to show you at this point. I'm going to wait until it gets dark, and then I'll load it up and we'll light a fire. All right, after 2 full days of rain, I finally get a chance to try this stove out. By the way, the stove actually did sit out in the rain for those 2 days, and I don't see any evidence of rust whatsoever, but that wouldn't be unusual on something that has been burnt. It's usually after a stove gets heated up and cooled a number of times that it seems to be more susceptible to rust. So what am I going to do? I've got a big stack of splits of wood here, some smaller, some medium. I'm not going to be very bushcrafty. Piece of wood wool that I will lay in the bottom. That lights up nice and quickly. And I'll start just putting in some of these little maple splits on top of them. Try to get a base fire going. Now, I want to have this conversation about the stove. When this first arrived, after having talked to Mikhail about it being a wood gas stove, I had a discussion with him about using it in the traditional wood gas stove method, meaning a top-down burn, T-led, top-lit updraft. So you would preload the stove with wood, and you would light a fire on top of that, and it would burn down through. The theory, not the theory, the physics is that as the wood heats up from the top, it releases wood gases, which then combust with the secondary combustion, the whole theory of how a wood gas stove works. Yes, that's the way you would normally do it, but this being a fire pit, most people would light it from the bottom, like you would a regular fire pit. So for this demonstration, I'm going to do it exactly that way, is light it from the bottom, then it's taking off fast. And then in future testing, I'll do the top-down burn. We'll see how that goes. So we'll catch on here. It's going to take a few minutes to really get going, of course. Now just keep loading this up. Now, I think I may have mentioned this already. With a wood gas, any wood gas stove, it doesn't matter if it's this one or any other, the wood should really stay below those secondary jets around the inside if you want a secondary burn. If you want gasification and a secondary burn to occur, then you need to keep the wood. Now, if you load it right up, it'll still burn, but it will be smoky. So don't expect it to be a clean burning fire until it gets below those jets, and then they will kick in and you'll get the extra air oxygen mixing and the more cleaner, more efficient burn. So I think most people know that, but just wanted to point that out. I mean, it seems a little strange, right? This is, other than a solo bonfire or anything of a similar size, there aren't very many fire pits that are also intended to be wood gasifiers. So it kind of goes against my train of thinking for regular wood gasification stoves. As you can see, this is really starting to take off. Times I can put in some of these heavier, older, but bigger pieces of wood. And I have a little bit of smoke, but not a whole lot, but that's not expected or unexpected as well. I mean, until the wood heats up and everything heats up, and you get to that point of complete combustion, you're going to get some smoke. It's just the way, you know, the physics of this work. Here's a nice big piece. Okay, I'm going to put that in. I'm going to leave it go for a few minutes. When this really gets rocking and rolling, I'll bring it back and we'll take a look at the burn from the top down. All right, I have a couple of observations. I'm going to show you the inside of the fire pit in a moment. I am seeing gasification and secondary combustion taking place, clearly secondary combustion. I'll explain when I bring it over. But here's my first initial observation. I can't get any closer to the top of the stove than this. It is radiating heat outwards and around me. Very, very hot. At the same time, I want you to see how close I can get my hand to the sidewall and barely feel any heat at all. So that's how effective the design is in drawing cool air up through the panels. The outside panel stays relatively cold. I mean, I'm not going to put my hand on it, but the inside is smoking hot, of course. And here's the other thing I'm noticing. I wondered if I could do this. I can put my hand right underneath the stove. I feel warmth. The stones of the patio bricks are cold, but I feel warmth radiating down, but not enough to cause anything to combust, certainly not enough even to really warm my hand up significantly. But man, standing back like this, it's got to be that outward sides and projections of the stove that are just allowing the heat to radiate out. I think a mistake I made is that I probably should have taken it out a little further onto the lawn there. I wouldn't have a worry about the grass burning, but I can't quite sit here. It's too close to my bench here to sit comfortably. Okay, I'm going to pick the camera up. I want you to see what's taking place down inside. Now, how clearly this shows up, I won't know. I'll leave it to you to tell me. But what I'm seeing as far as secondary combustion taking place is the jets around the outside, they're not all firing at the same time, but they are all firing. It's just intermittent. They come, if I move around, it seems to, you'll see a couple fire here and a couple fire here. Now that doesn't mean that the design is not working. The combustion's taking place. I mean, look, let me move back. Look how clean that is. Absolutely no smoke coming off of this at all. Here's something else I can report at this point. I won't know until the stove is cooled down. This side seems to have developed an inward bow. The side closest to me seems to develop an inward bow ever so slightly. Actually, I think all of them have. Yeah, there's a little bit of an inward bow. Now, in talking to Mikhail, he said, yes, that's common. Expect that to happen. And the answer for that is to let it cool down on its own. Don't try and cool the stove down. Let it go out on its own. It should return to true and not have an issue with it afterwards. But of course, that's what continued testing will be all about. Man, this is impressive. All right, I'm going to come back in a few moments' time before we wrap up for the night, because I want to let this die out and then see what kind of ash we have left. All right, I know the perspective for the camera doesn't indicate this, is when I look through the lens. I'm actually about 5 feet away from the fire pit, and I'm probably too close at this point. I think the heat's actually starting to calm down a little bit. I'm letting the wood burn down. See, that's about as close as I get my hand. That's about 3.5 feet away. So it's highly effective as a fire pit for heating things up. A couple other comments I want to make. One is I talked to Mikhail. He does have intentions to produce a grill or a grate as an option. It won't come with the stove package, but you'll be able to order a grill or a grate if you want to turn this into something you can cook over, and I don't see any reason why not. Once the fire dies down, too intense right now to do any cooking over. So put that out there. I'll be honest, I'm open to comments on this. I am wondering what would have happened had Mikhail included some type of a condenser. Now, what I mean by that is if you're familiar with the solo stoves, the small ones right through to the large fire pit sized ones, they all have this half dome ring around the outside that comes up a short ways before the large opening. And the purpose of that is to kind of keep, trap, and maybe even recirculate some of the unburnt wood gas, kind of hold it there near the top of the stove for secondary combustion to occur. The stove does, well, okay, here's the thing. It's working fine the way it is. This is more of a just, I wonder, would that have done anything for performance? Would that have increased the performance of this stove in any way? Some type of a lip or shelf coming in, you know, maybe just an inch, maybe a little further. It would be another change to the design and manufacturing. It'd probably add cost and complexity. It's just a question I have, and I'll put that to Mikhail after I finish this video up, just to see what his thoughts are on it. Yeah, okay, so initial burn, so far, huge success. I really won't know what's going to happen to the stove until I let it all burn down to ash and it's cool enough for me to touch, and that's going to be quite a while. There's an off chance that by the time this does burn out, we will have rain overnight. That's just the weather. And I may not get to this right away, but as soon as this is down to bare ash, I'll come back and we'll have a few final words on the HearthFire. All right, well, it didn't rain overnight, but it did get good and foggy. So there's what we have left in the bottom of the fire pit. There's a little bit of ash, a little bit of charcoal, not very much at all. And of course, it does look kind of damp. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just pull the camera back a little bit. I'll lift the top part of the fire pit off. We'll see what fell through onto the stand, which acts as a ash grate as well. And we'll take it apart and see what the condition is for the fire pit. All right, we'll lift the top up. Oh, that's good. All right, very little ash, as you can see, came through here. It is all wet from the fog overnight, though. All right, very little ash. All right, I'm going to take half a second to dump this into the ground in a hole I have here, and then I'll come back and take this apart. All right, ash pan or fire grate. Little bit of warping in it. Hopefully that's showing up. It doesn't seem to be functional. Still sitting down inside just the way you want it to. Just drop it in. All right, put that aside. And we'll start by lifting off one side at a time. It's probably going to fall down on me if I'm not careful. Yeah, this one, I guess. All right, that looked a little bit more professional than putting it together. Yeah, I think that's representative. I'll bring this up to the camera. There is ever so slight a bit of warping. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. Just the tiniest bit. Again, not functional. That's it. All right. Quickly put this in side of the carry bag. So my thinking is line them up. One face up, one face down, one face up, one face down. Then the table or stand, I'll put that, oh yeah, ash pan, or not ash pan, fire grate. That goes in here. All right, fold it over. Now, this is something I noticed and talked to Mikhail about. He handmade these carry bags himself from materials that he had, because he, at the time of this prototype coming out, he hadn't yet, bring it over to me, found a manufacturer for them. So as a result, they're ever so slightly too small. I mean, they work. Obviously, I'm getting it snapped, but it takes a bit of moving things around inside to get the snaps lined up. One more snap. And I get that last one together. Come on. That's barely going to go together. It'll go together, but... Okay, I think rather than struggle with this, am I going to get it? Oh, can't quite get that last snap. I'll struggle with it a little bit after we finish up the video. There we go. It's all packaged away, and what I'll do now is just move the camera for a few closing thoughts. All right, a few closing thoughts on the HearthFire fire pit made by Mikhail Merkwares at Merkwares. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but it's one of those things I'm quite happy and excited about. And that is Mikhail has found a person or a company to manufacture these in Canada. So the opportunity for us as Canadians may be good at these uncertain times of tariffs and shipping and costs and all that type of thing. The company is in Ontario and they drop ship directly to me. Therefore, I didn't have to have them shipped to Mikhail where he would reship them out after the fact. I asked Mikhail if he can continue to do this for Canadians. He's looking into it to see if it is something that that company will offer as a service. If it does, that's going to be great because that will save us a considerable amount of money. Maybe on tariffs, but definitely on shipping. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's always nice to be able to see a Canadian company being able to manufacture a high quality product like this. Now, the performance of the HearthFire. It lived up to exactly what I expected from it. It went together easy enough. Yeah, I know I fiddled it a little bit, mostly because of my lack of experience. The fire lit up well enough. It got intensely hot when you're standing over it. Interestingly, and well, maybe as expected, not so hot down the sides where the double wall seems to protect the heat from coming outwards, if you will, and not so hot underneath. So it'd be pretty safe on most surfaces for use as well. Be cautious and be careful, of course. Depends on what you put it on. Don't put it on your picnic table, just in case, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, now, again, I'll caution everybody, this is not a long-term use. What I saw from that initial use was the minimal amount of warping, as was expected. As Mikhail had said, it likely will do, but it is in no way functional. It goes back together exactly the way that it would when I initially did it. You know, it all seems to be in great shape. Okay, so I'm going to end it here by suggesting if you have any interest in this fire pit, the link to where the Kickstarter program will be, it's actually a holding spot right now, will be in the video description. Maybe the Kickstarter will have started by the time this video goes out. In that case, the link will take you right to it. You'll see what kind of deals, what kind of packages Mikhail's put together for the promotion. If you have any comments or questions or even suggestions, remember now, these are still prototypes. If they haven't gone into full production, maybe there are some things that Mikhail can either consider before they do so, or maybe there is room for a second generation, and maybe some accessories that you want to recommend to him that he might be interested in offering as well. Put all of that in the comment section below. Until next time, get out and explore and take that path less traveled, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.